Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Friday morning over here as we wrap up this week, a week of actual opportunities. We had something new go on for the first time in a very long time. Basically, the last month has been absolutely dead same paper range. Everyone knows what's going on there. Just boring as all hell. But we do have some major preparations, not just for today, but really the next week to come. Next week's going to be likely a big week. As everyone knows, FOMC meeting, and that's when we all become macro experts yet again. and that's what I expect a lot of people are waiting around for the big moves on the higher term timeframes. Anyways, without further ado, I wanted to jump right on into the analysis for today. I wanted to follow up on the short, medium, and higher term timeframes. There are all sorts of new things to be speaking about there. So let's start it off first with a bit of the Hopium look, or what was kind of driving our buys for a likely upside move based off of the Dixie chart right here, playing out a downside move. Now, I want to be very directly clear that when we're talking about Dixie coming down, I'm not talking about any sort of macro reversal here, just a pullback counter trend movement, which after, significant upside can definitely come down more into the next month or two. Anyways, weekly did produce two drives of extremes on volatility indicators like the BBWP, and I'm looking at this as likely it is going into a contraction phase. As you can see, this one's going to close today and very likely does initiate that, which likely means, or a very high possibility of a counter trend move, which is what we're already getting. Obviously, 4 drives of bearish divergence on the RSI, plus a bearish engulfing and continuation on last week's closure, and even the weekly jewel about to fire off a signal as well coming into the end of today for this week, likely does imply continuation to the downside, maybe in like the next month and a half to come. Short term, however, as we identified yesterday, and also I would say it's relevant today as well, short term very likely does bounce, and we do expect this to play opposite of risk on assets because these are higher term time frame moves here essentially. Again, I want to really deliberately separate myself from people who are looking at lower term timeframes on something like Dixie. I don't think that works, honestly, or at least I haven't seen it to work like in a confident manner. Higher term timeframe trends, though, they do seem to work, and they do seem to play opposite of risk on assets. And so yes, that is why I would still put this within the Hopium category, but I do think that we've seen the extent of the downside, as we said yesterday. Well, I think that we've seen the extent of the downside for this one for this week, as we identified yesterday. Anyways, how does that play into the actual Bitcoin analysis? Well, yesterday we were looking at a short-term pullback, so I believe we have gotten that. Finally, as you would expect, Bitcoin coming back down. And really, if you look at the last couple days, Bitcoin's been more or less in a line here, if you just kind of averaged out. Anyways, with that said, yesterday I did give out major warnings for a potential trap situation, although I'm not necessarily leaning towards it right now, but it doesn't matter what I'm leaning towards. At the end of the day, whatever price action does, responding to it is what you actually have, or what I actually have to do, and you can do whatever you want as well. But at the end of the day, my opinion is meaningless on top of that. So what would confirm the trap? Confirmation of trap is with even it might even just be with a tick below $20,000. I would go as far to say, for myself, any sort of a move below $20,000 on CME, especially on even a lower term time frame closing basis, will likely compete the trap. Now, there are lots of things to be aware of. In confluence with that, if we go over here to the daily on CME, you can see that hidden bearish divergence is building and will be confirmed with a closure here or lower by end of day, but it's a long day left to go. So I do want to really deliberately say that while Bitcoin does have a potential trap set up here, as we identified yesterday, ultimately, until it's below that level, I still do not look at it as confirmed. The big warning signal, however, has flashed, and that was with a 4-hour closure below 20,500 on CME, obviously. So I do look at that as a warning signal. If there is going to be a trap, it happens today. It very likely happens today. Latest would be Monday, but very likely would happen today if it's going to be happening at all. So what else is playing into that analysis right now? Well, on the 4-hour time frame, we are still seeing contraction on 4-hour volatility. So 4-hour volatility contracting likely into an extreme low does set up for a move probably later today. Probably does set up a move for later today. And if we go and reference stochastic momentum, let's see where the pivots are at for the current time being. 12-hour time frame is going to be still up if Bitcoin can close above 20,430. It's actually healthily below that right now, but a long time left to go to the next 12-hour closure. 6-hour time frame is obviously going to be down. 20,830 going to be the magical number right there. 4-hour time frame also nosediving as long as below basically the same level, 20,840. And then the hourly is also going to be down as long as Bitcoin's below 20,320. So that is why I do think it's important to be aware of the potential for a major trap here. Because when we're talking about, this on a higher term time frame, then if the trap is confirmed, we're talking about, moves back down likely towards those prior range lows. First sort of stop would be somewhere in the mid 19s, let's say 19,500 to 19,400 region, likely a short-term bounce there, and then very likely continuation coming into next week, somewhere back down around that $19,000 to $18,500 base. So ultimately, that's kind of what's at stake for today. I suspect, again, if there is going to be a trap, it happens today. If Bitcoin kind of survives a day without going below 20,000 bucks, that's going to be a pretty good sign, in my opinion, that Bitcoin continues on with the upside into the next week and probably even the next month after that, and we can start to really explore, those sort of more interesting upside targets. Until then, however, I do want to once again revisit this chart over here. This is the daily CME chart, the volatility versus momentum chart. And this is why I still do remain, I guess, a little, possibly optimistic, or at least I'd still be saying that, it's the main thing that I'm looking for until Bitcoin comes below 20,000 bucks. Until Bitcoin comes below 20,000 bucks. Again, it's just that number is really fucking important right here. Not because it's a round psychological even number, but it's just that last sort of area that would confirm a local high here, thus a lower high, thus hidden bearish divergence, thus destruction probably for the next week to come. But in this case, volatility represented by BBWP indicator. As you can see, anytime that it has gone down to extreme lows, which are defined as below 10 percentile or more, the expansion phase from these extreme lows over the full history of CME has led to an average move of about 24.25%, done over the course of about 2.5 weeks, and the stochastic costs have been correct in getting the direction of the volatility expansion 83.33% of the time. So that is why I do still, statistically speaking, am going to lean towards a trap not happening as of this moment. But again, below 20,000 bucks. That goes out the wayside. I don't give a fuck what the stats are over here. This is very obviously that would very obviously imply that this is going to be, one of the failures. Because again, 83.33 is not the same thing as 100%. And in this case, the daily stochastic oscillator remains with upside curvature as long as Bitcoin's above 19,400. So I've been very, aggressive in kind of sounding a potential warning signal here. Understand until confirmation happens, I still do look at this as more relevant. So fair enough. And of course, you can draw your own conclusions from that. Now, here's the thing. The signal was confirmed. This was 2 days ago or yesterday. Let me just double check. Wednesday close. So yeah, 2 days ago. 2 days ago, this was confirmed. And upon confirmation, that's when we actually look to apply all of these stats over here. The average days taken to reach the next major high or low upon that confirmation of volatility expansion has been about 2.5 weeks. So we would still be looking at this as, early within the context of the signal's life, as, it's eaten up 2 days of that. It still has a little bit over 2 weeks then, maybe like 15, or it'd be a little bit under two weeks. That would be like 13 days or so. Again, so we would be looking basically into the second week of November. That would put, to give like a time frame on it, somewhere between like the 10th of November to the 15th of November, I'd say. On top of that, if we are going to be looking at the average move is still relevant, that would still imply that the first area of interest to the upside would be at around 15%, because that's the bottom of the first deviation. So that's, one of the more highly probable moves. That would put Bitcoin between about 21.3 to 21.5. Keep in mind, this week, Bitcoin already did break into the $21,000 region. It didn't get quite as high as 21.3, but that would be comparable. That actually would be comparable, to be fair. It would obviously be on the lower end, but do have to be aware of where these major areas are. 24%, which is the average move, puts Bitcoin at around 23,500 bucks basically, and then 33% puts Bitcoin at like summer highs, somewhere between about 24,500 to 25,500 bucks. So ultimately, I still look at this as relevant again until trap confirmation happens. Once that happens, I don't care what this says. The big focus is going to be then on the 2-day time frame and the 5-day time frame. The 2-day time frame is still building a signal over here. Volatility is still contracting, which is fucking crazy. Which is absolutely fucking crazy. But that just means that the signal is going to be even more powerful as it's coming in from a lower level. And the 5-day, same thing as well. The 5-day is at multi-year lows now, and we really are, probably going to be looking at a 40-ish% move. or Bitcoin's probably gonna be about 40% different than the current price that you see right now, maybe around like middle of December to early January 2023. So do keep that in mind, because this is winding up for a very, very big move here. And if the daily does fail and then we see these start to naturally turn on to the downside, well, the downside is going to get the play rather than the upside, obviously. Anyways, I think that's a good place to be leaving off on a video like this. Nice and short and sweet. I hope that was as abundantly clear as possible. What else do I want to say? I think that's basically it. Forgot to show Bybit. Bybit's got a promotion going on. They got 0% maker fees on derivative contracts and spot orders, of which the derivatives portion of that is like really fucking awesome. So there is a link in the description below for that particular promotion. And then I think that's it. All right, sweet. I'll be signing off now. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.